Going to perform a pre-trip inspection on a tractor-trailer combination vehicle. First of all, we're going to start off by chalking our wheel. On this particular vehicle, we keep our wheel chalk here. And we chalk our wheel. Notice that I do not chalk the wheel like this. When we release our parking brake, the weight of the vehicle will sit on top of the wheel chalk and you will not be able to get it. So you put it in at an angle so that if once the weight sits off, you need to get the wheel chalk, you can kick it out. You can have access. Alright, we're going to enter the vehicle using 3 points of contact at all time. Depending on the type of vehicle you're in, this particular vehicle has a grab handle here. You have your foot rails right here, which is 1 point of contact. Some vehicles have another grab handle here in the door or here in the handle. On this particular rig, it's going to be 1, 2, and 3 points of contact at all times. Safely enter the vehicle. Once you're in the vehicle, you're going to check your seat belt. Ensure that it's properly mounted and secured. It's working condition, has no cuts, tears, or frays, and it locks in place securely. If the examiner is sitting next to you, you would notify him to please put on his seatbelt, because anytime you're going to start the engine, you must have your seatbelt on and your passenger as well. So we're going to perform a safe start. We're going to put the battery to the charging position. We're going to quickly see if our ABS light comes on and then turns off, which it does in this case. We're going to allow the glow plugs to cycle through. We never cold start a semi or turn off a semi. You allow it to sit for a few minutes before you turn it off. You don't just turn it off straight. The same way when you first turn it on, you give it a few seconds. You're going to put your clutch pedal all the way down to the ground. And in this case, this will be the only time you will be doing it if you're parked or stopped at a light. Other than that, you will never engage the clutch brake, which is all the way at the very end. You got your clutch pedal. You got free play. Nothing's happening right there. As soon as I feel some pressure, normally to switch any gear, you only need to go about 2 to 4 inches the most to switch the gear, but never all the way down to the ground, like to the floorboard, as if you're in a POV. Okay, but for a safe start, we're parked, we're not driving, so we can engage our clutch brake to ensure that there's extra safety. We're going to make sure that our gear shift is in the neutral position. And how can we do that? You can tap it to the side right here. On the left side, you have a spring wall, which will bounce back. Okay. On this side, to the right, just a solid wall. There's no spring, so there's no bounce. This side, you can feel it. Now, if you're in a gear, there's no spring wall as well. Any gear can tell you you're not in neutral. Neutral's right here. You can quickly check. It bounces back. So safe start. Key and auxiliary. The battery charging position. Clutch pedal all the way down to the ground. Gear shift in the neutral position. Go ahead and fire up your rig. Slowly release your clutch pedal to ensure that you're not in the gear. Okay. Now at this point, what you're doing is you're building up your air pressure to the governor cutout, which is between 120 to 140 psi. Generally around 125 psi, most governors will cut out. You're going to roll down your window, listen out for the governor to cut out audibly. Now we're in an idle position. You can also accelerate slightly to speed up the process. And as you can see, our primary and our secondary air gauge, one is nearing 115, one's nearing 110. So we're looking for the governor to cut out right about the center, which is about 125 psi. We're fast idling. One's nearing the 125 position. We're about to hear the primary. And we're now going to listen for the governor cutout. Right there. Alright, so we take note. You draw the attention of your examiner. You can tell, as you can see, my governor cut out at 125 psi, which is between the range of 120 to 140 psi. This vehicle has passed. Now you're going to cut off your engine. This is very important. You must put the key back to the battery charge position. Okay? And the very, very important next step you're going to do, which is why we chalked our wheels, we are going to release our parking brakes. You press the valve in, hold it down just a little bit just in case there's some back pressure. Release the second, your trailer. This is your trailer air supply control valve and your tractor brakes. And this is how we supply air to the tanks on our trailer and to the chambers on our trailer. And also to release our emergency spring parking brakes on our trailer. Now we allowed our air to stabilize. We're taking a reading. Okay, we're going to ensure that we do not lose more than 4 psi in the period of 1 minute while we're depressing the service brake pedal for 60 seconds. If we weren't just in our tractor, which could be considered a single vehicle, you could not lose more than 3 psi in the period of 1 minute doing this test. So I'm going to depress my service brake pedal. I'm going to hold it down for 60 seconds. I'm going to let my gauge stabilize. They're pretty much stable. I'm going to start my timer. 60 seconds. Now at the end of 60 seconds, I will not release my service brake. I will first take the reading, which I'm taking note here. I have only lost 1 psi in the period of 1 minute. So I will tell my examiner, at the end of 60 seconds, as you can see, my vehicle did not lose more than 4 psi in the period of 1 minute. This vehicle passed. Now you may release your service brake pedal at this time. Okay. Now the next thing you're going to demonstrate to your examiner is that your low pressure warning signal and the buzzer work as they should. You're going to depress your service brake pedal until the pressure falls at near 55 psi. Now your low pressure warning buzzer and the dash light that should come on about right here, depending on the vehicle that you're in, the light will come on. It should come on or before the pressure falls below 55 psi. So you're going to demonstrate that your emergency warning light and the buzzer are functioning properly for your low pressure warning. So let's fan our brakes and drop the pressure at the same. Now when you're fanning your brakes, you do it at this pace. Do not try to go fast. Now as you can see, the pressure, my low pressure warning light and my buzzer came on when the pressure fell at 60 psi, which is before 55 psi. You would tell your examiner, this vehicle has passed. Now, you are going to continue to fan your service brakes at this point. Watching your air gauges, you're going to tell to the state examiner that I'm going to demonstrate that my emergency spring parking brakes function properly When the pressure falls below the range of 45 to 20 psi, both my parking brake valves should pop out, applying my emergency spring brakes. So let's demonstrate. Now we're nearing 45, so this is where you watch your valves. And right around 30 psi in most standard vehicles, the valves are going to pop out. Now we're right around 30. There they go. Okay. Now both my parking brake valves have popped out. You take note that they popped out right around 30 psi, which is between the range of 45 to 20 psi, which indicates that this vehicle has passed. So you tell the examiner. Okay. Now at this point, you're going to safely exit the vehicle. So I'm going to turn off my battery charge, remove my seatbelt, you're going to exit the vehicle the same way you entered the vehicle, using 3 points of contact: 1, 2, and 3 on your foothold. You're going to remove your wheel chock, stow it away properly, re-enter your vehicle using 3 points of contact. Put on your seatbelt. Again, ask the state examiner if he has taken the seatbelt off during this time to go ahead and put the seatbelt back on, because you're about to restart your vehicle. Again, we're going to start the vehicle, doing a safe start, key to auxiliary, clutch pedal all the way down, gear shift into neutral position, glow plug cycle through, go ahead and fire it up. Slowly release your clutch pedal. You're going to tell the examiner that you're going to rebuild your pressure to the governor cutout, which is between 120 and 140. Again, should happen at 125. You can speed up the process by accelerating slightly. But remember, don't over accelerate. You'll cause damage to your motor. So we're going to speed up the process a little bit here. Now what we're preparing for at this time is to demonstrate to the state examiner that our vehicle parking brakes and our trailer's parking brakes function properly. We're going to perform what we call a tug test. Now, generally I start with my tractor's parking brakes. So I make sure that my tractor's parking brakes are on, and I will release my trailer's parking brakes. Okay, but let's get to that point. We need to build the air pressure first. Now remember, do not accelerate any more than what I'm doing now, or you will overwork the engine. Now we're nearing the governor cutout, which should be around 125 psi. For this vehicle. We're nearing right there. Any second now, that low pressure, there you go. Governor cutout. Now what you're going to do is we're doing the tug test on the tractor first. We're going to make sure that our parking brake is engaged, which the valve is out. We're going to release our trailer's parking brake. We're going to put the gear shift into first gear. Now if you don't know your gears, you can always look on the pad right here. It'll show you right there, first gear, we're on low. Remember, you got a splitter right here. The splitter should be down, should not be up. If it's up, you're accessing the high gears. So first would be 6, and you would pretty much clock out. So make sure that the gear splitter is between your fingers and it's in a downward position. You comfortably hold like this, so that way you can move it up with your finger, move it down with your finger whenever you need to switch to your low and high gears. But for this case, we've got to make sure it's down, and we're going into the first gear right there, which is all the way back towards you. So make sure that you're in that first gear. You're going to slowly release your clutch pedal till you feel a slight tugging of your tractor's parking brakes holding you in place. So release that clutch pedal slowly. You'll feel a tug. Alright, that was a tug. The vehicle did not move. Now you tell it to the examiner. As you can see, my vehicle did not move forward, which indicates my tractor parking brakes are working properly. Now you're going to set your trailer brakes back. You're going to release your tractor's parking brakes. Now we're keeping ourselves in first gear. Clutch pedal all the way down. We're going to slowly release our clutch pedal until we feel a tug, until we feel that our trailer's brakes are holding us in place. Now if we move forward, obviously there would be a brake issue. So go ahead. Well, as you can see that we tugged. We did not move forward, so you tell the examiner. As you can see, my vehicle did not move forward, which would indicate my trailer's parking brakes are working properly. Now go ahead and set your brakes. Now you're going to tell the examiner that you are going to perform a service brake test, which means you're going to lightly hold the steering wheel between your fingers. You're not going to have a firm grip, because what you're trying to do is you're going to drive forward 15 feet, no further than 15 feet, no faster than 5 miles per hour, and you're going to apply your service brake normally, as if you would come to a normal stop at a stoplight or stop sign. And you're going to demonstrate that the vehicle stops straight and it does not lean to the left nor to the right, which could be an indication of a shifted load, a suspension problem, or maybe even a flat tire. So you again make sure that your passenger has a seatbelt on. You're going to engage your clutch, put yourself into first gear. You're going to release your parking brakes. And you're going to drive forward. Again, lightly holding the steering wheel. You don't want to have a grip, because if there is an issue, you would be holding it too tight to even tell if there was an issue. Lightly holding it, the steering wheel will move, and you can grab it really quick, which is why you have that light grip around it, just in case there is an issue. So you move forward. Again, no further than 15 feet, no faster than 5 miles per hour, and then you stop. Okay? Now, as you can see, the vehicle stops straight. It did not lean to the left nor to the right. You tell the examiner the vehicle stopped straight, did not lean to the left or right. The service brakes are functioning properly. This vehicle has passed. Okay? Put yourself in neutral, set your parking brake. Go ahead and turn off your motor at this time. You're going to turn off your engine. Put the key back to the auxiliary. Okay. Then you will check for your 3 emergency pieces of equipment. So I'm going to demonstrate that I have a properly mounted and secured fire extinguisher with a BC rating of 10 or greater. Okay. You also indicate that it is charged which the needle will be between the green and the green section. You would show the examiner that you have 3 reflective triangles, and then you have spare electrical fuses if your vehicle uses them, and this vehicle does, so we have our spare electrical fuses here. Okay. Tell the examiner I'm going to inspect my windshield to make sure that they're properly mounted and secured on both sides. They're free of any cracks, any dirt, any illegal stickers. There's nothing obstructing the driver's view. You're going to demonstrate that your wiper blades work and that they have fluid. So you're going to say, I'm going to inspect my wiper blades, my wiper blade arms to ensure that they're properly mounted and secured. The blade is not cut, torn, or frayed, and it sits flush with my windshield and works properly. And this is where you will turn on your wiper blades. And you can demonstrate that they're working. To get a little fluid, you're going to press here, press this button in, and then you would demonstrate that the fluid is okay. Turn off your wiper blade, just press this down one more time. Okay. So now you demonstrated that your wiper blade and your arms work and it has fluid. Okay. Go inspect my mirrors and my mirror brackets on both sides of my vehicle to ensure they're properly mounted and secured. Clean and clear, no cracks, just like your windshield. No illegal stickers. Okay, and they're properly adjusted to you. Now, if you have a mirror adjustment, some vehicles have controls. Some are manual, such as these, that you would go outside and adjust them to you. Now, at this point, you also are going to demonstrate that your heater and your defroster are properly working. Okay, so you would turn your valve to the heat position, to the airflow for my heater, and then you would turn it on. Now this my heater is properly mounted, secured, functioning properly. You touch the air vents to demonstrate to the examiner that the vents are flowing with air. In this case, these ones are. You would now switch it to your defroster, which you would indicate to the examiner by touching. You would tell him I could feel airflow coming from my vents here, which would indicate my defroster is working properly as well. Then go ahead and turn that off. Okay. You would demonstrate that your city horn is properly mounted and secure and functioning properly. Give it a little push. Okay. You would demonstrate that your air horn is properly mounted and secured and functioning properly. Give it a little touch. Okay. Now at this point, you would tell the examiner that you want to demonstrate that your dash indicator lights also function properly. So you would start with a left turn signal. My left turn signal dash indicator light is functioning properly. And remember, you must point and touch each item so that the examiner knows clearly what you are inspecting. My right turn signal dash indicator light is functioning properly. Turn on your four-way flashers. The four-way flasher indicator lights are functioning properly. You would also demonstrate that your high beam light functions properly. So in this case, you would need to turn on your lights. So this is where you would turn on your light. When it's in the center position, they're off. When it's on the lower position, you got your running lights. And when it's in the top position, you got your headlights are now functioning along with your running lights. So I'm going to demonstrate that my high beam light indicator works. And as you can see, my high beam light came on as it should. And at this point, you would conclude the in-cab portion of your pre-trip inspection. But this is the point where you're going to ask the examiner to help you with the outside light inspection so that he can get out of the vehicle and he can guide you to see which light works. Now, some state examiners, they may tell you to get out and go check the lights yourself, but in most cases they're supposed to get out. So you would kindly ask the state examiner to get out of the vehicle and be your guide to see if your lights, your parking lights, your running lights, and your tail lights and brake lights, everything works properly. But in this case, we're going to demonstrate how to inspect your outside lights. So you're going to safely exit your vehicle using 3 points of contact again. And you're going to start off with either your left turn signal or your right turn signal. In this case, we're going to start off with our left. Come to the front of the vehicle. I'm going to inspect my driver's side turn signal to make sure it's properly mounted and secure. The lens is neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, free of any obstructions, and it's the proper color, which is amber. Okay, I'm going to inspect my headlight, make sure they're properly mounted and secured. The lens is neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, and it's the proper color, clear. You would also inspect your fog lights and make sure they're properly mounted and secure. The lens is neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, and it's the proper color, which is clear. That's a little extra. My side marker light is properly mounted and secure on my tractor. Neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. The lens is clean and clear, and the proper color, amber. My trailer's side marker light is properly mounted and secure. Neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. Proper color, amber in color. Also mention the reflector, properly mounted and secured. No cracks, damaged, it's not loose. Proper color, amber. My trailer's side marker light or turn indicator light is properly mounted and secured. The lens is neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. It's clean and clear. Proper color, amber. My trailer's side turn indicator is properly mounted and secured. The lens is clean and clear, neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. Clean, and it's also the proper color, red in the rear. My trailer's turn indicator light and my brake lights are properly mounted and secured. Lens is clean and clear, neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, functioning properly, and it's the proper color, red in the rear. My identification lights properly mounted and secured. Neither lenses are neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. Proper color, red, and functioning properly. As I'm going to inspect my reflectors, my trailer's reflectors on both sides to ensure they're properly mounted and secured, clean and clear, neither cracked nor damaged, and the proper color, which is red. Now you will go back to the vehicle. Now in the old days you would also inspect your tractor's lights, but on the new pre-trip they're not required, but when you graduate this is something that you will do. Go ahead and turn that to your right turn indicators. And you would do the same inspection on the right side of your vehicle as we did the left. I'll inspect my headlights to make sure they're properly mounted and secured. The lens is neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. The lens is clean and clear, proper color, clear. My passenger side turn indicator light is properly mounted and secured. The lens is clean and clear, neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. Proper color, amber. And so on. The same way you did your driver's side is the same way you're going to inspect your passenger side. So you go along the route and inspect your lights. And upon inspecting all those lights, you're going to turn on your four-way flashers. And ensure that they're functioning properly as well, all around your vehicle. As we can see, all the lights are functioning properly. Again, this is something that the examiner will do for you for each side, but you need to know how to do it yourself. Now we can see clearly that our four-way flashers are functioning properly. Also, you got your clearance lights and identification lights on top of your vehicle. You must mention my clearance lights, my identification lights on the front of my vehicle are properly mounted and secured. The lenses are neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. Clean and clear. Proper color amber. And ensure that all your lights are functioning properly. Four-way flashers are functioning properly all around the vehicle. And again, your state examiner will do this for you while you're sitting in the vehicle turning the signals on. You step back, make sure that they're functioning properly in the rear. Now the final light check will be that your low beams are functioning, which we already indicated that they are since the lights are now on. You just got to demonstrate that your high beams are also functioning on the outside. Let's go ahead and turn on our high beam lights. Come right back to ensure that they are on, functioning properly. Both my high beams are working properly. Good to go. Now let's go ahead and turn off those high beams. Cancel those four-way flashers. Now at that point, when you would still be inside the vehicle, the examiner would do the final one. You would do a brake check. You could depress your brake pedal. The examiner would be at the rear of the vehicle to indicate that the lights are on. He'll give you the thumbs up. Okay. Now that will conclude the light check. So at this point, you would take the keys with you. You would exit the vehicle safely using 3 points of contact. Close your door properly. Do not slam them. They just need a little push. That's all they need. You will release your hood latches. You come to the front of the vehicle. Now, if there's any fender lights, fender mirrors and brackets, you must mention those as well. So I'll inspect my fender mirror and bracket to make sure it's properly mounted and secure. The lens is clean and clear. No free of any cracks. I will look beneath my vehicle to see if I have any puddles, which would indicate fluid leaks. I would also see if my vehicle is sitting level on the ground. If you're parked on flat level ground, your vehicle should be sitting flush. If not, could be a shifted load, suspension issue, or maybe a flat tire. Now you're going to open your hood properly using 3 points of contact. You grab handle here, a foot rest here. You're going to use 2 hands, and you're going to open your hood, and you're going to yell clear before you open to make sure that no one's in the area. So go ahead and open your hood properly. Do not let it fall down, and you're going to come to the passenger side of your motor. You're going to tell the examiner, I'm going to inspect, starting with my air brake line, every visible hose that I can see and touch at both ends to ensure that they're properly mounted and secured, and there's no abrasions, bulges, nor cuts, and nor leaks of any kind. I'm also going to inspect all my electrical wires, starting out with my ABS line to ensure that they're properly mounted and secure at both ends. Every electrical wire that I can see and touch, going to inspect to make sure that there are no cuts, tears, or frays. Now you will go to the driver's side engine compartment and begin your driver's side inspection. Again, you're going to start off with all your hoses and wires. So I'm going to inspect all my hoses that I can visibly see and touch, starting with my air brake line, to ensure that they're properly mounted and secured at both ends. There's no abrasions, bulges, nor cuts. There's no leaks of any kind. I'm going to inspect my ABS line, all my electrical lines that I can visibly see and touch, to ensure that they're all properly mounted and secured at both ends, and that there's no cuts, tears, no frays. I'm going to inspect my radiator coolant housing reservoir to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. It's neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, and that it's within the magnetic fill line, and that there's no leaks as well. I'm also, if I need to add, I'm going to add here, and I will never remove the cap when the motor is hot. I'm going to inspect my engine oil using the dipstick right here, and this is where I feel. This is where I would check it. I would remove my dipstick. I will wipe my dipstick clean with a rag, reinsert the dipstick, take it out once again, look at the dipstick to ensure that hold it down at an downward angle, and I will ensure that my level is within the fill marks. And if I need to fill, this is where I would add my oil, and I will ensure that these are secured by pressing down and turning clockwise, which would lock my fill cap in place. I'll inspect my power steering fluid reservoir to ensure it's properly mounted and secured. It's neither cracked, damaged, or loose. There's no visible leaks. If I need to check my levels, I would indicate that's within the fill marks here within this level. And if I need to add, this is where I add. I'll inspect my steering shaft to ensure it's properly mounted and secured at both ends. It's neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, and that there's no more than 10 degrees of free play in either direction. I'll inspect my U-joints to make sure they're properly mounted and secured. They're neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, and they're properly greased. I'll inspect my steering gearbox to make sure it's properly mounted and secure. All mounting hardware is visible and present. None are loose, none are missing. There's no leaks. I'll inspect my pitman arm to ensure it's properly mounted and secured at both ends. It's neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. No signs of any damage. And that has a castle nut and cotter pin in place. I'll inspect my drag link to make sure it's properly mounted and secured at both ends. It's neither cracked, damaged, or loose. The bushings are present. There's no signs of any damage. I'll inspect my steering knuckle. It's properly mounted and secured. Both ends, neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. No signs of any damage. Castle nut is present, and cotter pin is present in place. I'll inspect my steer axle and tie rod. Sure it's properly mounted and secured. Neither cracked, damaged, or loose. No signs of any damage. My tie rod is secured at both ends. Neither cracked, damaged, or loose. I'll inspect my frame rails, which run from the front to the rear of my vehicle on both sides. I will inspect it from the front to the rear to ensure it's properly mounted and secured. It's neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. No signs of any illegal welds, no cracked welds. I'll inspect my spring hangers on both sides. My spring hangers on both sides, ensure they're properly mounted and secured. Neither cracked, damaged, or loose. All mounting hardware is visible present. None are loose, none are missing. I will inspect my leaf springs to ensure they're properly mounted and secured at both ends. Make sure there's no crack, damage, or loose. They're not shifted nor scissored. I will then move into my shock absorber, shock mounts. Make sure they're properly mounted and secured. No signs of any damage, not crack, damage, or loose, nor are they leaking. I will inspect my brake system to ensure it's properly mounted and secured. And it's free of any contaminants. My brake pads have no less than 1/4 of an inch of brake pad. I'll inspect my tires' inner and outer sidewalls to ensure they're properly mounted and secured. There's no abrasions, bulges, nor cuts. These are steer tires, and they can only be virgin radials. They cannot be retreads, recapped, or regrooved tires. And I will also inspect the tread depth in every major groove with a tread depth gauge, and my tire pressure with the tire pressure gauge here. I would also inspect my tires, my rim's valve stem. Make sure it's properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, damaged, or loose, nor is it touching the drum or the rim, and it has a DOT metal cap in place. And here's where I would check my tire pressure with a tire pressure gauge. I'll inspect my rim to make sure it's properly mounted and secured. Neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, no legal welds. I'll inspect my lug nuts and my studs. Make sure they're all properly mounted and secured. None are loose, none are missing. Over tightening will be an indication of spidering behind the lug, or oblong shaping. Looseness will be indicated by red rust rings on a metal rim or black rust rings on aluminum rim. Now at this point, you would always double check your work to make sure there was nothing that you missed, something that you were supposed to mention. And in this case, we have mentioned everything on our CDL checklist. Okay, so at this point, you would go ahead and close the hood and properly secure your latches. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, 3 points of contact. You're going to yell clear and hold your hood down. Give it a little tug on make sure it properly seats. Ensure that the latches are secured. Okay. On both sides. Properly latch it. Put your latch there. Push it forward. Locks in place. Okay. Now at this point, you're going to continue the outside inspection. You're going to look down your rig to see if there's anything that you missed on your initial inspection, and then you begin. I'm going to inspect my fuel tanks on both sides of my vehicle to ensure that they're properly mounted and secured. Neither cracked, damaged, nor loose, free of any illegal welds, no signs of any leaks. I'm sure that my cap is properly latched, has a security chain, and that it has a proper seal. Inspect my battery box and my batteries inside to ensure that they're properly mounted and secured, neither cracked, damaged, or loose. All my batteries are properly mounted and secured, although cabling to and from each terminal is properly mounted and secured at both ends. There's no signs of any damage, proper insulation, and there's no cuts, tears, or frays, or no signs of any corrosion. I'll inspect my air lines to ensure that they're properly mounted and secured at both ends, from my tractor to my trailer. I'll ensure that my glad hands or my couplers at both ends are properly mounted and secured. They're not loose, they're not leaking, there's no abrasions, bulges, or cuts anywhere. I'll inspect my electrical line, my pigtail at both ends to ensure they're properly mounted and secured. The end connector is properly mounted and secured, and the cap is properly latched and locked, holding it in place, which will ensure that it will not come loose. I'll also inspect the housing to make sure that there's no cuts, tears, or frays. I'll inspect my header board, my trailer's header board, ensure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, loose, no signs of any damage. I will inspect my trailer's apron, which is my upper fifth wheel, ensure it's properly mounted and secured. There's not cracked, damaged, loose, no cracked welds, no signs of any damage. I would inspect my kingpin. Since my vehicle is not running, I can go ahead and go beneath my vehicle to look into I would inspect my kingpin to make sure it's and the shaft to make sure it's properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, and that the locking jaws are securely locked around my kingpin, which in this case you can see. I would also ensure that between my upper and my lower fifth wheel that there's no space in between, just a grease in between. There should be no daylight whatsoever. You can also use a flashlight to shine through, see if you can see something. But you can see right here we have no daylight. And since my release handle is in the lock position, because my lock jaws are securely locked around my kingpins and my trailer is coupled to my tractor, that's the proper position. I'll inspect my fifth wheel plate to ensure it's properly mounted and secured, properly greased, no signs of any damage, and the pin is in place with the cotter pin. I'll also inspect my fifth wheel platform, sliding platform. This is a sliding fifth wheel platform to ensure it's properly mounted and secured. All of the mounting hardware is visible and present. None are loose, none are missing, and that the lock jaws are in the lock position, and that my lock piston is properly mounted and secured, and no signs of any damage. This one does not have an air piston, so I would not need to inspect the airline. But if you have an air piston, you're going to inspect the airline. Now, this is not on most exams, but generally most state examiners are going to have you inspect the steer wheel. They only need to have you inspect one of the wheels, either steer, drives, or your trailer tandems. So in all cases, you need to know how to inspect all the wheels, because any examiner, he can decide not to have you inspect your steers. He could have you inspect your drives. Now, obviously, all the general inspection for your drive wheels is the same as the steers, inner, outer, sidewalls, except that you got dual tires, so you got double. Now, the difference that these tires and your trailer tires can also be retreads, recapped, or regrooved tires, and the treads can go down as low as 2/32 of an inch, and the treads on your steers can be no less than 4/32 of an inch, and you will measure this with a tread depth gauge to get a proper reading. Now, you also have space in between your tandem tires, which is called bud spacing. Sometimes there's spacers in between. You would also inspect to see if there's anything lodged in between your bud spacing, and that the spacers, if you have any, are properly mounted and secured, no signs of any damage. So that's the only difference you would have inspecting if they decide to have you inspect a different set of wheels. Now at this point, you would continue your inspection. Before you move on, you would also make sure you have enough clearance between your trailer and your tractor, and also that we also have enough slack and not too much slack for your air lines and your electrical line, and it's properly secured. Okay, in this case, this vehicle is properly secured, so we can make turns without overstretching our air lines, our electrical lines, or causing or hitting our muffler system there. You're also going to make sure that you have enough clearance between the rear of your tractor and your landing gear, so if you make turns, you're not going to strike each other. Okay. Now, you would inspect your trailer, the frame rails on your trailer, from the front to the back. You would tell the examiner, I'll inspect both my frame rails to the front, to the rear of my trailer, sure they're properly mounted and secured, not cracked, damaged, or loose, free of any damage, no cracked welds. You also will inspect all of your floorboards throughout the entire trailer to ensure that there's no holes, there's no damage to any of your floorboards. You're also going to inspect all of your cross members, all from the front to the rear, all the way across your entire trailer, to ensure they're properly mounted and secure, not cracked, damaged, or loose, no cracked welds. Okay? You'll also inspect your landing gear to ensure it's properly mounted and secured, since it's not cracked, damaged, nor loose, no signs of any damage, no cracked welds. You'll also, since my trailer is currently coupled to my tractor, my landing gear must be all the way up, and my crank handle should be in the lock position. In this case, this one is. You're now going to inspect the sides of your trailer to ensure that your DOT reflective C2 tape is present and it covers at least 80% of the length of your trailer, or is present every 2 to 3 feet. And in this case, all the C2 tape is present and brand new. You would follow on both sides of your trailer. You would let them know on both sides of your trailer. You'll come to the rear of your trailer. You would also inspect your DOT ICC bumper to ensure it's properly mounted and secured, and the DOT C2 reflective tape is properly mounted and secure, covers 100% of the width of your trailer's bumper, and also the width of your trailer itself. You would inspect your license plate light to ensure it's properly mounted and secure, and then that's functioned properly, and it's on, and it's neither cracked, damaged, nor loose. It's proper color, clear. You would tell the examiner, I would inspect this side of my vehicle exactly as I inspected the other side of my vehicle, and if there was anything unique to this side of the vehicle, I would point it out and inspect it. In this case, there's nothing unique to this side of the vehicle that there isn't on this. And at this time, this will conclude Class A tractor trailer vehicle inspection here at Dream One Trucking Schools. If you're interested in getting your Class A CDL, give us a call, 505-721-9071. We're a mobile trucking school. We serve all U.S. states. Give us a call. Visit our website at dream1truckingschools.com.